Hi there, and welcome to Saving Ophelia. My name is Thijs, and I'm the one attempting the saving, with Ophelia being my 70-year-old German-built steel boat. I'm currently trying to get Ophelia's engine running consistently again, or more correctly, starting consistently again. And to that end, I'm building a new engine control panel. And last week I made sure all the meters on this panel got power. This week I'm going to make sure that they get the signals from the engine they need in order to display something. And seeing that a dormant engine isn't going to send too many signals to the meters, I'm also going to make sure that the signals from the panel that should start the engine get to the engine. So let's get started. So the majority of all this wiring is about fitting these, what do you call them, shoes onto the end of the wires and then plugging them in place. But there are a few that are different. Well, mainly two really. This one, the ones from the starter button, because they're bastards to work with. It's just so very, very small and they tend to pop off all the time. So I'll cut these off and then solder a wire in place with a bigger connector further up so that it's easier to connect and disconnect it. So I'll have to do some soldering. So the soldering iron should now be hot enough to work with. And we have some solder as well. S-O-L-D-E-R. I heard it pronounced soda without an L, solder. And I don't know which one is actually correct. Oh, well, it doesn't matter too much because you know what I mean. Anyway, I think I'll pass this wire through the switch here. It's a very little hole, and I might be able to get that bunch through here. Well, I can't get all of them through, it seems. I can try again. There we go. Then that should do it. Probably not entirely the right way to go about this, but it'll work, I hope. See what I'm doing there? Well, not really. Whoa. There we go. Now my beautiful soldering work should be at the center of attention. Well, it's not going to be pretty. But it doesn't need to be. There we go. Let's give it a bit more just to keep it in place. Well, it even flowed through to the back side, so that should be good. And then, well, I'm going to give this a piece of shrink wrap afterwards so that we don't have these things poking out and that might make a short. And the other one going through here was this one. That also, well, it wasn't as loose, so I might leave that in place. No, I'd better not. It's better to get this done properly. I guess that should do it. A wire in and a wire out. Then I can splice it from there. That was the nasty ones. They just need some shrink wrap now. They should be all good. So this would be take two. I just tried with two smaller bits of heat shrink, and that didn't really work. So I had to go with something that's a bit bigger than I'd really like, but either way. And I'll smooth out the solder joint a bit because I couldn't fit the tubing over it, but should fit now. At least I hope so. See, there we go, with a bit of work. Well, I don't hope your gloves fit this tightly, but yeah, like a glove or something along those lines. This one should be a fair bit easier. And it is. There we go. Now I just need to shrink it in place. For that, I have a heat gun. Sounds impressive. Really, it's just a very old thing. There we go. That should keep it in place nicely and avoid any sparks in here. Well, it has to be quite a lot of power for a spark to jump in here, so I don't think that'll happen. That's the only real option. There's not anything I can do about that. So I can put this back into the panel because everything else is just putting these cable shoes on and squeezing them and, well, putting them in place. I'll need to wire in the off switch as well. I'm not entirely sure if that needs positive and negative lead, so I'll have to think about that. But what I do know is that, well, I cut this connection earlier and I'll need to re-establish that. That's the signal wire for the, oh, I can't even remember which meter it is, but it's the signal one for this one up here, and it's used to be hardwired in. I think I'll give it a bullet connector again, and then I'll need to wire in the other signal, and well, it needs to go into this one down here. That's actually a spade connector, female spade connector here, so I'll just add a male spade connector here and then we'll see how that works. I'm not entirely sure that this one that's going to be connected to. It might also be the brown one. I'll need to have a look at the diagram again before, but then again, if I give it a spade connector, I can just move it back and forth and find out which ones works and which one doesn't. Well, which ones, there should only be one that works. Either way, I think that's what I'll do now. It's a fairly thin wire, so I'll use a small red one. I think I'll double over the lead because it's fairly thin, and even though the spade connector is, well, if you can see it here, it's a very small hole, still think it's too big. So even if it's tinned up, which it is, there we go. See if we can get that one in there. Oh, now it's too big. I'll give it a bit of a squeeze. Let's see if that doesn't solve it. Yeah, that solved it plenty. There we go. There we go. I'm pretty sure though that that's not enough. I have a tendency to pop back out. You can see, if you can't, but if you look here, it doesn't look like it's really got a grip. So once again, a bit of manual assistance with this whole thing should do the trick. Yeah, let's see. There we go. And it can go into the brown wire just as easily. Yeah, this is the brown one. Yep. So that's all good. And then I need to link this one back up. Yeah. Good solid connection. And then this is quite a thin one. So I think I'll have to double it up. What did I send flying there? Oh, the hole saw. Well, I don't have a need for that right now, so. Yeah, I don't really trust that connection. I've had quite a few of them feel solid and then come apart anyways, which is really annoying, but this way it works. It does feel a bit loose though, but don't think there's much you can do about that. You can't even test it because there's no, well, the ends aren't open, so I don't know if there's a connection here, but there should be. So green. So that's both meters, well, potentially wired up. And the signal lead for the tachometer is what's, well, I didn't have to do anything about that. I could just reuse the old one. This is like a bowl of spaghetti. I think I'll cut the harness apart here so I can handle the wires individually, and then try to make a bit of order afterwards. There we go. So it does look kind of messy, but it should work. Everything should be accessible here without getting in the way of each other. Now I just need to fix up that, what do you call it? Oh, the positive lead. So if I bundle them up like this for now, these are the ones that are in use. I think this last one is for a gauge for the seawater temperature, and I don't have a meter that will display that anyway, so that won't come into use here. And well, as I said, these two don't seem to be connected to anything really at the other end. They do go into this plug, but then at the other end, the female plug, then there doesn't seem to be any connection, not according to the diagram at least. So I might have a look at the real plug when I'm down on the boat again. But for now, I think I just need to hook up the positive lead back here, and everything except for the off switch should be in working order. So I did paint myself into a bit of a corner, leaving this lead very, very short. But fortunately it won't affect the switch. So I should be able to do this, and then I'll just daisy chain this one on here. So I jump into here and then on. But that does mean I need a new switch here. Well, new switch, what I'm talking about. I need a new bullet connector here. There we go. Probably should be checking that connection though, just to be sure. Yep, that works. Go, and there we go. that should mean that we have power flowing into everything. Positive lead here into the heater button, and then it goes here, and oh, you can't see that, but here into that and into the starter button, and from there it daisy chains on and into the cutoff solenoid. So now I just need to connect that solenoid to the power to the signal wire. So I think it should be warm enough now. Let's see. Usually I'd hold the soldering iron in my hand, but I think this might be better for this. If I hold the wire here, heat it here. Yeah, this wire got a bit hot to the touch, but I guess that's the price worth paying. I'll just need to disconnect this soldering iron. Sorry about the shaky cam here. So that did thicken up the lead a bit. Actually a bit too much, because there's this blob out here. There we go. Yeah, of course. That's just... Now it won't fit. Just have to reshape it a bit. Fortunately, solder is fairly soft. That should give it a very solid grip on that lead. And with that one in place, well, yeah, of course. Not exactly cooperative today. There we go. Bend it out a bit so we can get this one on there. There we go. That should be everything hooked up. So with power in, power to the side of everything, and then the signal wires coming out. Power passing into the meters and going back out again this way. That's good. And the signal wires for the meters have their own connectors. So I guess we're good with that. That should be the new control panel wired up with everything in working order. So I forgot something, because of course I did. I forgot that there's a nifty function in these switches. They have a light that shows whether they're engaged or not. And I actually forgot to connect that. I think it might be a good idea to be able to see whether or not the switches are on or off. So I just made this little thing. I'll daisy chain the leads coming out of the lights from here to here to here, and then off to some, I think it's a ground connection that they need, because they draw awful little power, but they still need some kind of connection, of course. There we go. Then, don't know exactly where I'll plug this one in yet, but that should allow the lights to work if I can figure out where I plug this one in. But for that I'll have to have a look at the diagram once more. Well, the diagram does seem to indicate that I should just hook that one into the blue, this one, which of course is not really going to be possible. That's a mess. Let's see if I can figure something out here, because I wonder if this could, of course, redo this one. No. Yes, maybe. Yeah, not really. It's messy. There's a light bulb going into this voltmeter, and I was thinking I might be able to hook into that, the negative side here, but the lead is fairly short as it is. So if I disconnect it and hook in another one, let's see. At this point, I'm really just asking for trouble. But, oh, there we go. There we go. Let's see. Oh yeah, that didn't exactly become prettier, but I think I can check the connection up here. If I have connection between this point and this one, then, well, everything should be good. So that one there. And there's a connection. So when I plug this one back in here, everything should, in theory, be functioning. Wow. I think I want to see it before I believe it. So the next step, this time for real, will be to hook up the generator. Oh, I just connect everything to the wire loom. There we go. One big pile of spaghetti. Pretty it ain't, but hopefully it will work. So the engine control panel is now done, well, the electrical part at least. And just like last time, I had hoped to be able to hook up the panel to the engine and get it started, but I'm still having a spot of trouble with the alternator. After the debacle of getting sent a pre-loved alternator that might have been older than the engine I needed for, I actually got sent what I ordered, well, sort of. As you can see, this unit is a Vallejo alternator, and I thought I ordered a Bosch one from the company's website. Well, I know I did. However, this one has been remanufactured by Bosch, so the sticker says up here, and it seems to be part of some recycling initiative. And despite the looks, I guess it sports Bosch innards, and according to Bosch, remanufacturing means that they've taken the entire thing apart and replaced all of the parts that are subject to wear and tear, and then verified that the entire assembly is up to Bosch standards for a newly produced unit. This is done in order to reduce the amount of electronic waste, which I guess is a good thing. But be that as it may, I do think that web shops should indicate quite clearly when the item they're selling you isn't entirely new, and well, this isn't. This isn't why I can't install this alternator though, and then test the panel. As you can see, it looks just fine. No indications of any issues, just a slight bit of dirt in here on the windings. And if I installed it, it would work probably just fine. But there's one minor hiccup. See, this is made to be mounted on the right hand side of the engine with this side up, and the old one, well, you might have guessed it by now, is a left hand side engine. Well, engine generator. So I messed up and I bought a right hand side engine when I should have had a left hand side one, and yeah, that's a bit of an issue. This alternator is only produced as a right hand side model, and it's the only one that I could find that could easily replace the broken one, besides this little orientation issue. I've spent quite a bit of time searching the internet for an alternator, well, an alternative to the one with the slight orientation issue. And, well, I haven't really been able to find something from a vendor I thought I could trust to be able to help if issues cropped up. So in the end I broke down and asked one of the local mechanics to see if he could find something. And he may have, but it will be a few days before it shows up, so hopefully next time. And seeing that I can't start the engine this time, I think we'll end it here. And I hope you'll tag along again next time, and if you enjoyed this video, please click the like and subscribe button on your way out. It does help the channel quite a lot. If you feel like helping beyond just watching these videos and clicking buttons for me, you can do so by sending a super thanks from the button below, or by joining the channel as a member, or by joining my Patreon. Well, with that out of the way, I hope you have a good week until next time, and see you then.